So innovation isn't just confined to major cities. In this session, we explore how the next wave of startups is emerging from regions beyond the metros, driven by visionary policymakers and local initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have on stage the moderator, Ms. Shraddha Sharma, founder and CEO Your Story, and our esteemed panelist, Dr. Ekroop Kaur, Secretary to Government, Department of Electronics, IT, Biotechnology and Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka, Shri Anurag Yadav, Principal Secretary, NEIT Electronics, Government of Uttar Pradesh, and Shri Adi Bharat, Joint Commissioner of Industries, Government of Gujarat.
Can you tell us, for entrepreneurs, what are some of the programs that the state is running? Very good evening to everyone. Pleasure to be here and pleasure to be talking to you, Shraddha. So Bangalore, as you all know, is the startup capital, not just for the country, but it is one of the largest technology hubs in the world. We are looking at, we are the fourth largest technology cluster with more than 18,000 startups and more than 50 unicorns. So in that sense, Bangalore it has a thriving ecosystem. And we are very, very passionate about our startup ecosystem. Over the years, state has been systematically investing and supporting the startup ecosystem. So the approach which has been taken has been pretty much a life cycle approach, right from the idea stage, idea to POC, then supporting the journey, then accelerating, commercialization, giving global connections and global acceleration. State government has been supporting this all the way through. I don't want to, name all the schemes that we have rolled out. For those of you who are in this segment, in this ecosystem, would already know of the schemes that the government is running. But I thought something interesting that I must flag at this, occasion. Government has very recently, in its budget that was presented in March, announced a very, very big program for startups. We are looking at creating 10,000 new startups across Karnataka. And this would be all beyond Bangalore, not in Bangalore, but in all the emerging clusters. So we are looking at 6 clusters within the state, of which 3 are already somewhat, at a fairly mature level, and other 3 are coming up very well. And we are going to do a very, very deep dive into building the ecosystem. So now we have taken a decision to start with very young people. Right from high school, we are engaging with students. Then we have structured programs at college level where we are trying to support student projects, because we feel that these student projects actually are the bedrock, and from there the ideas will stem, which will eventually culminate into startups. We are focusing very heavily on IP creation, and I think that's where today India has to come of age, and we need to have more IPs happening which can be recognized and can be associated with India, rather Bharat, I would say. And this entire initiative that we are taking is going to really support it. And while we will be giving a lot of financial incentives, we are also looking at building the ecosystem in these smaller towns, so to say, emerging clusters. We have set up certain centers of excellence. We are looking at setting up another 8 to 10 centers of excellence. We are looking at setting up TBIs. We are looking at setting up innovation labs. So very, very exciting times, I should say. All in all, there is lots happening in this space, and I think still this is the beginning of the journey. A lot more is yet to come, and I think all of you, if you divide the audience, you do fall into the 3 buckets that Shraddha mentioned, and probably this is the best time to be in this domain, to have your own startup, to build your own idea. And all states and even the government of India, everybody is out there to support your journey. So stay confident and, really give it your best shot is what I would like to say.
Thank you, ma'am. I have one very quick question. I know you have to leave. So if it's all right, I'll ask another question. Is for people who are not in the state, I might be in Delhi, I might be in any, I will not say UP and Gujarat right now, but in any other place, can I go to Karnataka and avail all these offers that you have?
Yeah, so some programs, yes, you can be a part of it even while you are not registered with the state. But once you register with the state, Karnataka startup, this thing, the world will certainly change. There will be a plethora of opportunities, and a lot of it is obviously for startups which are registered with Karnataka. And believe me, startups from all over the country, and it is not like it's a state-run thing and only for people from the state. Everybody from the we have people from all over the country who are coming because the kind of ecosystem support that you get over there is something which is, as on date, fairly unmatched. I don't think, the maturity of the ecosystem, and especially once you start, probably the scale up and the acceleration could be much better once you get that ecosystem support. Plus, with the presence of a large number of academic institutions and the kind of centers of excellence which have been set up by the state government in collaboration with the academic institutions, especially ones with IISc, with IIM, and then IIT, IIT Dharwad. Those are places which are really, giving world-class mentoring facility, world-class academic support, and that is what becomes the differentiator beyond a certain level. But yes, we are open, and in fact, we run a similar event in Bangalore called the Bangalore Tech Summit. We have seen in the last couple of years the participation from other states. In fact, we very proactively reach out to all startup clusters across the country, and we have all the states participating over there. We are willing to provide whatever support we can to build this ecosystem across the country. So
लास्ट क्वेश्चन, पते की बात पूछना है मुझे कि पैसा कितना मिलेगा, like what is the, because as startups, as people in this space, we are looking always for funding, grants. So
one of our flagship programs is Elevate, where startups, idea to POC stage startups, they participate. Every year we select 100 startups and we give a grant of up to 50 lakhs. It is no strings attached grant. There is no equity, no share, and nothing that the state asks for.
And you can clap for that because it's a great innovative program without equity. It's a big thing.
So we have supported close to 1150 startups till now, and some of the startups are, they have reached that level where they have market valuation of 500 crores and stuff. Really, those startups are doing very, very well. I would not take names, but many of them have been very successful. Besides, we were one of the first states way back, almost 15-20 years back, when we set up a VC fund. When the VC ecosystem, private VC ecosystem was not as vibrant and strong, we set up a state-led VC fund. We still continue with that VC fund. It is, so every round it is specific to certain domain. Right now we are running a deep tech fund, we are running a fund for the AVGC sector. So some very niche areas we are trying to develop. Going forward, this new program that we have announced, which is Local Economy Accelerator Program, we are looking at setting another Elevate-like program for deep tech, and we are also looking at setting up a fund of funds. And besides all of this, what the government is doing, the private VC ecosystem in Karnataka is very mature. We have more than 200 VCs which are operating out of Karnataka. And the kind of money that has been raised, the investments which have been raised by startups, they are truly, truly inspiring. And I think money is not really the barrier at all. If you have a good idea and if you are, committed to it, and the team sees that you will be able to see it through, I don't think money is a big challenge.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As always, Karnataka has hit it out of the park. So with that, sir, Anurag sir, हम यूपी पे पहुंचते हैं. हम स्टार्टअप महाकुंभ में हैं और अभी महाकुंभ बहुत ही शानदार महाकुंभ has got over in UP. Tell us what the state is doing for startups, for the innovation. उसके बारे में हमें बताइए. और पैसे भी कितने हैं वो भी हम पूछेंगे. हाँ. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause to a group, ma'am. And please get in touch with her. Very approachable and always responding and helping startups. Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot.
I'm sorry I have to leave in between. I have a hard stop. But nonetheless, it was really nice interacting. And as Shraddha mentioned, we would be very happy to interact with any one of you who would like to, explore what are the opportunities in Karnataka. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Mahakumbh and what's the strength of being in UP? So, एक question मैं भी पूछना चाहता था सबसे. So just think for a moment. I usually ask when I am at this stage. UP is not a state but a country. So in world, what would be its rank when you look at country's population size? Anyone? Any guess? Okay. What would be its rank? 10th. नहीं, यूपी वाले नहीं हो. हाँ. 6th. Okay. Quite close. 4. Almost close. Yes. I mean, अगर इंडिया कंट्री के रूप में ना काउंट करो तो 3rd maybe 3rd or 4th. It varies. So that's a size. I mean, you think of that on this entire atlas or globe or whatever you can visualize, and then think that UP is the 3rd or 4th largest country. Now, can any innovation be worth sustaining if it's not happening in UP? There comes the strength of being in UP and why UP's startup ecosystem is important, worth to focus on and to discuss, and that is what Mahakumbh probably symbolizes. Now, how do you attempt? I mean, that's one way of so being big has its potential and its challenges as well. And when it comes to synchronizing it with the startup ecosystem, so the difference definitely is challengeable because with size you can't move as fast as you expect to move. I mean, it's a very simple natural phenomena. So you need to gather a lot of momentum, a lot of I would say potential has to be generated before you get up to that acceleration. Probably UP is at that stage, I would say, where we have gathered the momentum, but it is yet to come to that speed where probably we just had ma'am from Bangalore. So I would say we are not yet at the stage where Bangalore is, obviously, but we do need to see how our tier 2, tier 3 or other cities, if we are looking in terms of Mahakumbh of Bharat, then how every city can become a Bangalore, we need to see. So what the state government is doing, how we are focusing in, how we are creating this speed. Now so much of contextual introduction, coming to the real brass tacks. There are two major, I would say, interventions which you can see. One is directly where we nurture the startup right from what we use the word seed capital up to their market. So there are different schemes which state government has where it promotes startups right from incubation up to how they can go up to the product commercialization. And then once you have reached to that stage, we have another scheme which is, I would probably say very few states have, a startup fund which is of 1,000 crore corpus run by SIDBI, where there is no limit depending upon your idea and how you can get your investment valued. So that's there. Now comes the second tier of intervention, which is related to creating the ecosystem. So there are few things which has happened in past few years. When you look at the startups, what is the challenge? Challenge is accessibility. So if you are in tier 2, tier 3 cities, like most of the UP cities are, and if you think about reaching to them, how do you access their product, or how they access global market or big market? So that's how do you create that bridge. The second challenge is people believe there is a lack of talent in these smaller towns, and it has been rightly so. A few years ago, we always found that people are running towards metros, and most of the metros having the infrastructure. So the state government has focused on creating infrastructure, enabling infrastructure, whatever you can think of, whether it is power, whether it is road network in terms of expressways. So UP is probably, people say that if you Google expressway state, the name will come UP. And the day we complete Ganga expressway, it would have 50% of the entire country's expressway. So we had airports, there were only 3 or 4 about few years ago, and now we have 16 airports functioning. So whether it is creating logistic hubs, whether it is creating road network, whether it is creating tech infrastructure, so which is very important. If you look at how much digital payments are taking place, again the numbers, so we score on the numbers. So you will find that most of the digital payments are happening in UP. So digital ecosystem is there. To summarize, not only having direct benefit schemes for startups, but also creating indirectly an ecosystem. We are trying to see that this title of Mahakumbh for UP can sustain. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. I am from Bihar. तो मुझे लगता है बिहार और यूपी जो बगल में है, it is always very encouraging, and UP seeing the progress, because now one is going and the change is very palpable on ground. We were in Lucknow, Kanpur, Prayagraj, मतलब पूरी दुनिया ही. And I don't know if you guys know that Steve Jobs' ex-wife came to Mahakumbh, right? So UP is, the way it is changing is of course very commendable, but what is encouraging today to hear is that a lot is being done for startups under your leadership. Yes? Sir, पैसा कितना मिल रहा है?
Okay.
आप number नहीं बताए.
I'll give you. If you are asking, a very simple, so there are different stages. You are a college student, and you have some ideas and you want to work. So how we nurture? So the first stage is where you create incubators. So we have incubators in every district where you can get yourself registered as a college student or just having a basic idea on you are nurturing. And we give you sustainability allowance, which is if you are in a, I would say, tier 2, tier 3 city, it's much higher given your challenges, but otherwise roughly around 20,000 per month you get while you are a student and you just have an idea trying to work on that. Then comes a stage where you require some seed capital. So when it comes to seed capital, on different stages of your evaluation of the idea, you again, if you are, you have an advantage if you are a woman in UP. So you get more money being a women-led startup, and otherwise roughly around 7.5 lakhs to 11 lakhs is the range where you get as a seed capital, where you develop your idea and you are yet to commercialize this. If you have a prototype, you get a grant of 5 lakhs to make that validated. All your certifications get subsidized or reimbursed. And once that is done, then you get a marketing incentive. So some support for initial marketing where you are still trying to get some investments for that. Then comes that stage where if you have crossed all these stages and you want actually some valuation for your product which you have developed, or want to make, let's say, a factory or some more bigger investments, then you can approach through SIDBI for our UP Startup Fund, which is a corpus big enough depending upon, so there are certain startups in the state which has got huge funding. There is no limit for that funding depending upon how you have been evaluated by those AIFs. But there is a dedicated fund from the UP for the UP's startup. And there are other infrastructure support. For example, we have many centers where STPI supports us with its office locations where you need not pay anything. You have all the design centers facilities where you can get your prototype designed without paying any cost. So I would say that we have the infrastructure to support you if you have an idea.
Sir, you said unlimited funding, तो हम सब यूपी आ रहे हैं, but हम आए कैसे? But tell us, how do we access?
Okay. So the best way to do is all the incubation centers are set up with education institution. So if you are working on some ideas, it's better to get through whatever education institutions, every district. For example, all over, there are 2 IITs in UP. There is a triple IIT, there is an IIM if you are looking for the big names. But otherwise also, if you go to a tier 2, tier 3 district, you will find, if you just go to our website, it has all our incubators listed there. And you just contact them. They would definitely help you to incubate your, depending upon what kind of ideas you have and what support system you are looking at. Once you are with them, you get all the support system.
Thank you. Thank you, Anurag sir. Sir, let's hear from Gujarat.
As far as startup is concerned, Gujarat formally came out in 2015 with a specific scheme from the Industries Department. But as you are all knowing, Gujarat is an entrepreneurial state from the time immemorial. We had trades. We have 1600 kilometers of long coastline. So we had trades with all foreign countries through the ships in those days also. So, and over a period of time, the Gujarat has a stronghold of manufacturing. Unlike other states where more of services and technology things are there, Gujarat is a stronghold of manufacturing. Now, in 2015, when our Honorable Prime Minister was CM before that of Gujarat, he had floated an idea of formally sponsoring students and people, even they may be students, they may be dropouts, they may be graduates. Having any idea in their mind, that idea has to be nurtured and has to be realized in a full-fledged product. So that idea, after he went to center, the Gujarat government was inspired by that idea, and we floated a scheme wherein we provide various benefits. I'll answer to your another question of paisa a little later. But then, apart from that, as DPIIT has mandated that every district of every state has to have at least one startup in every district. So that is one of the mandates. But we in Gujarat also, we through our scheme, through our policy, we have created a network of institutes which are recognized by us through the medium of scheme. Money will be routed through those institutes. So those institutes, more of them or most of them are graduate level, university level schools and colleges, and so that every district has been covered. Every beyond metro is also covered in that. So obviously, as far as state is concerned, all our tier 2, tier 3 cities, if you take example of Rajkot, which is again T2 or T3, way back, they are manufacturing for automobile manufacturer world around. I mean, around the world. No car manufacturing company in the world will be such that it will not be having some part made from Rajkot. And their products are also going to space. They are, I mean, manufacturing for spaceships also. So that is the Gujarat story. I'll answer your paisa question also. When you were asking this question, something came to my mind. There is a joke wherein a company was interviewing CAs, chartered accountants, for their company's work. So the question was, how much is 2 plus 2? So the straightforward candidates, or non-Gujarati candidates said 2 plus 2 is 4. Now the Gujarati came, so he was asked the same question. तो बोला कि 2 plus 2 is what? He said that कितना चाहिए, कितना करना है. So पैसे की बात आएगी तो आप मेरे को अगर पूछ रहे हैं कि कितने पैसे मिलते हैं, मैं बोलूँगा आपको कितने चाहिए. And to be specific, we start with students policy, SSIP, wherein we provide up to 2 lakh rupees for students coming out with ideas. Very nascent stage startups. Above that, we have a Srujan scheme where we provide 10 lakh rupees to the students. Now, above that, when it comes to our industries department's scheme, we provide 30 lakh rupees, up to 30 lakh rupees as seed fund. Apart from other benefits like attending acceleration program, they'll get 3 lakh rupees. Now, above that, 30 lakh se jada, we have I'll tell you the 360-degree approach of the state government. Above 30 lakh, there is ticket size 50 lakh, 3 crores. So we have venture funds. GVFL is a company, government partnered company. So GVFL will provide you, I mean, it could be in the form of equity, it could be in the form of debt. So there is no limit to that. So that is how.
सर बहुत चाहिए. मतलब अभी हम
Thank
सबको
you.
तो लग रहा है गुजरात चलो, गुजरात चलें. No, but thank you so much. Thank you to all of you. Sanjay, do you want to add anything? Because we've run out of time.
I think Secretary has already covered. Only one thing which is also element is that any government procurement that we do give a preference to the startups who are there in Karnataka. So we have a very specific program for startups which is there. And I think there is a democratization of entrepreneurship का जो concept है श्रद्धा जी, वो पूरा मॉडल जो है thankfully कर्नाटका से निकल के बाहर आया है और वो अब एक बाकी
मुझे
प्रदेशों
लग
में
रहा
जा
है कि
रहा है.
यहाँ पे माइक में कंपटीशन हमें करना चाहिए था, एक डिबेट होना था.
इट्स नॉट कंपटीशन, ये सब शेयरिंग है, शेयरिंग ऑफ नॉलेज ही है. लेकिन डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन ऑफ एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप से ही वी कैन उम्मीद कर सकते हैं कि जो भारत का एंटरप्रेन्योर्स है वो
Yes.
बाहर निकल के आएगा.
Yes.
आई थिंक सारे प्रदेश जो है वो उसमें दिशा में काम कर रहे हैं. हम उसको थोड़ा सा और डीपर लेवल में काम कर रहे हैं, मैं तो नहीं कह सकते.
यस, लास्ट एक लाइन में, या तो एक शब्द में या एक लाइन में, एक सेंटेंस में, व्हाट डज इट मीन टुडे टू बी इन भारत एंड बीइंग अ भारतीय, बीइंग एन इंडियन, फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू, because you guys are driving the startup story, Bharat story. What does it mean? गुजरात से शुरू करेंगे अभी.
I think being in Bharat today is a way forward or a path towards being Vishwaguru. That is in one sentence.
Yes.
I think he summarized, but I mean, you asked one word and the first word came to my mind was hope.
Hope. Yes. Yes. Very
This country
hopeful.
has that potential and hope we are going to be.
Yes. Yes. Brilliant.
हमारे यहाँ पे नॉर्थ स्टार की बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है.
हाँ.
राइट, मुझे लगता है कि भारत एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप का वो वर्ल्ड में नॉर्थ स्टार बन के दिखाएगा.
Very good. Thank you so much. And with that, let's give a big round of applause to all our state leaders, Gujarat, UP and Karnataka. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's definitely very exciting and worth all the wait that, the members of the audience have been doing. Our final panel discussion is here, guys, and it centers on the financial dynamics that propel the startup ecosystem.
So we have the panel discussion, the liquidity, the flywheel unlocked, moderated by Mr. Rohit Batra, Managing Partner, Evolvence, along with our panelists on stage, Mr. Vineet Rai, Founder and Managing Partner, Avishkar Group, Mr. Ishpreet Singh Gandhi, Founder and Managing Partner, Stride Ventures. So moderated by Mr. Rohit Batra from Evolvence, our panelists, Mr. Vineet Rai and Mr. Ishpreet Singh Gandhi, are among the most respected figures in the investment community. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. The positive of being the last session is that we have half-empty room, which means less pressure for all of us. Let me start by maybe introducing myself and my very esteemed panelists here. Rohit Batra, Managing Partner, Evolvence. We are a long-term investor in India, mostly in private markets across private equity and venture capital. We invest in both funds as well as do direct investments, and for us it's important to find high-quality companies which we can help scale up in the Middle East and invest in funds where we can develop a partnership model and find ways in which we can collaborate on this Middle East-India corridor. We've been investing in India for 20 years. We've raised and invested a little over $1 billion. And I'm very excited to have this panel because it is by far the most important topic for the investing community today, which is, especially in India, which is creation of liquidity or exits, as we call it in our lingo. And we think we have a very, very interesting set of folks here because with very, very relevant backgrounds. We've got Arvind, who has obviously been the champion of many of the companies that have gone public over the last 2 years and the IPO frenzy we've seen, so would want to really hear his feedback. We've got Vineet, who's been, in my view, one of the foundational pools of capital supporting Indian private companies from the earliest stage to the growth stage, and one of the most impactful impact investors in India. And we have Ishpreet from Strides, which has over the last few years emerged as probably one of the most well-known venture debt platforms in India, and an asset class which I think is very relevant as we talk about cash in, cash out, and I'll have each of them give their backgrounds and the backgrounds on their firms. So Arvind, maybe I'll pass it over to you for a quick 30-second intro.
Thanks, Rohit. So I am Arvind Ganeshan. I head the New Age Tech practice at Axis Capital. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of the bank, and we partner companies in their late stage fund requirements, be it at an IPO or a M&A or a private equity.
Hi, Ishpreet here. I'm the founder and managing partner for Stride Ventures. We are amongst the most active debt investors in the country. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So Arvind, maybe I'll start with you. Look, this is a forum which has come together to celebrate the entrepreneurial journey that the Indian startup ecosystem has helped advocate. And it's been a tremendous, I would say last 5 years where we've seen fantastic companies coming out of India. You were amongst the top banks which have taken many of these companies public. It's been an extremely exciting time to be an investor in India over the last 10 years because India has produced, and it's a fact, bucked the trend which is happening globally and produced some of the best exits. Much of it coming from the startup and tech ecosystem. So maybe start with what do you think had enabled that over the last 2 years, and where do you think 2025 and 2026 is looking from that perspective?
We are more bullish on tech space, the new age tech space, than what we have historically ever been. See, there are a couple of things. Let's just take a step back. What exactly investors want? They want predictable, scalable, profitable and de-risk models. consumers and businesses alike like great value, great experience, instant gratification. And we believe platforms are the best place to kind of deliver this. So if you see, they have the lowest incremental cost of service, massive data-based decision making, extremely intelligent and value accretive engagement with the ecosystem, and high degree of capital efficiency. In a world like what we are today, wherein a lot of things are volatile, agility has a special place in itself. And that is the reason why these platforms have dominated across the world. I'll just give you a couple of data points here. If you look at US, around 35% of the market cap is with the new age companies. In China, it is 30%. In India, it is just 3%. So basically, we have not even gotten started, I would say that. So if I were to just look at last year, close to $20 billion of capital were raised from IPOs, out of which around 4 billion were from tech companies. That's around 20% kind of share. We see this going up to 30, 35%, 40%. There is no reason why Indian companies, more of them will not be tech in terms of hitting the market. So one thing which we are seeing in terms of the activity which the companies whom we are talking to right now, if the markets were to hold up this year, we could potentially raise more capital than last 4 years combined. That is the extent to which this optimism is going to roll and this tech new age wave is going to take shape.
Well, that's music to my ears for sure. Vineet, you've got a very interesting role in the ecosystem. I mean, you represent today what I think has become over time one of the most important sources of capital for this country, which is developmental finance. And you have been the champion, the poster boy for what I would think is the inflows of that pool. What I've also seen though is that you come in very early and probably have, in my view, delivered amongst the highest sort of number of exits within the Avishkar portfolio, as I see the last few funds that Avishkar has raised and invested out of. Walk us through how is the India experience, the Indian founders experience different from that first check that you write, or maybe even in some cases the growth check, to actually creating what we call here the liquidity continuum, cash in, cash out, and how is it different from maybe a global founder or a US or a Chinese founder, if I could put it that way?
So I started in 2001, and in 2001, if you offer somebody a check, people will get scared that you might actually take their house away. So, I was 29-year-old and I did not know how to give money. I did not know how to raise money, and so giving money itself was a check. And when I actually when I met people like you trying to raise LP money, people asked me what is the exit. For first time, I actually thought they are asking me to exit from the door. So it took me some time to understand what exit means. Second time onwards, I actually went through an IFC paper which said 95% of the funds are globally struggling for exit. And praying to God is a good strategy. So I officially wrote, exit strategy, pray to God. I think the difference has been we were praying to God in 2001 to 2010 period. And I actually distinctly remember till 2016, we were so apologetic about our exit strategies across the board. I mean, it was not really about Avishkar, it was actually about India. And our selling was, how would India ever return the capital, and are we not similar to Africa? That was actually one of the biggest questions. Now, if I actually just give you some numbers, 2021 was really godsend year for us. Just to give you an idea, roughly 45,000 crores of exits happened through IPO in 2021. We have never hit that mark since then. 2024, and this is 44 companies IPOing, roughly 40,000, 45,000 odd crores of money. And then this year, we are not yet 44. Last year, actually, 37 odd companies, roughly 35,000 crores. So don't ask me what happened in 22, 23. So 21 and 24 are really the peak years. We have not touched 21 yet again. But the M&A activity is also followed the IPO activity. I mean, just to give you an idea, in 2021, the total M&A that took place in India is roughly 1,20,000 crores. 2024 again is another peak, but at 24,000 crores. So you've roughly fallen down 20% from our peak. answer, simple question. If you today try to look at exits, does India offer exit? Answer is yes. But if I flip it around and actually start saying, does India offer reasonable return as an investor who has a portfolio there? I think that's where we start struggling again. And we as investors have to prove ourselves that we can improve our DPI to those who don't or uninitiated this distributable proceeds, the money that we actually return, the question that you're asking. 2017 is at 0.7%, 2018 is at around 0.5, 23. So basically we have returned between 0.70% of the capital we raised, or 80, 60 or 50 or 30. And those who have returned the entire, so if I put the residual amount also, it's 1.2 2014 vintage. That means if you raise $100 million, you basically return $120 million, which is really no IRR. So I think individual companies have bucked the trend, created significant value, but venture as an ecosystem has yet to deliver the promises that we have made, and that's actually a challenge we have to solve for India. And to me, if you actually go as an entrepreneur, a lot of entrepreneurs think that they made an exit and they have done a great favor to the investor. The reality is, unless we consistently deliver significant returns and create long-term value, chances of the money getting recycled and reaching back to you in large quantities is going to be challenging. And yesterday, Minister talked about why is deep tech and why Indian entrepreneurs are not ambitious enough. It is not your problem. It is a structural problem that we have to collectively solve. Both from the fund side, we need to find larger pools of capital. $100 billion, $200 million, $300 million funds are not going to create a competing deep tech ecosystem that stands with competes with China or US. We need to have $3 billion, $5 billion. I mean, I've been around for 25 years. We are at $700 million of total assets under management. In the fund space, we are already overall 1.5. But in the funds venture space, we are only 700 million. And that tells you how slow the growth is. We are not private equity. In venture space, it's damn difficult. If you take out Peak 15, erstwhile Sequoia and Axel, you would start seeing the quantum drop so suddenly that 1, 2, 5 million, $10 million is what we do. Then there is a gap there, right there, between 10 and 30, $50 billion. Post that comes private equity, and private equity looks for stable models. Without the stable models, those guys are not going to come in, and you'll start struggling at $150 billion revenue. But if you have not become profitable and you're not going to look at Arvind, it's very, very difficult to create exit for anyone. So India's challenge is not completing this. We are not a full stack financially evolved ecosystem. And that really is the challenge that we need to sort. Once we sort that challenge, we will have to convince ourselves to raise the quantum of money that would allow us to consistently deliver across the board. And that's when the entrepreneurs will get the opportunity to build with patient capital, long-term businesses. And I don't think so, whether the entrepreneurs or the investors have done justice to it. And I think I would actually say as a country, that way we should question ourselves. It's not that the entrepreneur, the investors and the whole country needs to answer, including the government. So we all need to collectively ask ourselves, how do we build the full stack? And Nandan Nilekani has actually proven a right full stack solution is a powerful tool. We just need to do that in ours. So I'll just stop.
No, fair enough. But speaking about we need to raise more, we need to do more, one of the trends that we've all spoken about is the Indian market's appetite for investing in this ecosystem, startups, venture, private assets. And I think one of the biggest beneficiaries has been Strides. If I think about your capital base, Ishpreet, tremendous amount of appetite with a lot of your LPs, which are insurance companies, banks, large family offices. Tell me, what is it about venture debt and what is it about Strides which is exciting them? Because as I think about this whole, again, going back to this cash in, cash out cycle, clearly venture debt as an asset class has grown. And I think some of it may have to do with the fact that how quickly you guys have been returning money in just the way that it works. So maybe educate the audience here on venture debt and then maybe Strides positioning within that. So.
Sure. Thanks, Rohit. So basically, I think Vineet made some interesting comments on the cycles and how it is a very long cycle and you have to be more patient. I think we sit in between. We sit in between of making sure that we are naturally not a 10-year funds. We 10, 12-year funds from a private equity venture capital perspective. We are in between. So we are 4-5-year funds, which gives a lot of transparency from a perspective of LPs to understand the tech ecosystem. Because generally what we can do, we can customize our structure of finance in varied manner. We can possibly structure an investment in 12 months and 4 years, 3.5 years, depending on what the business requires. I fundamentally believe, first from an asset class perspective, to Rohit's point, it's a more regular cash in and out kind of structures of quarterly paid out to investors. But more importantly, I think domestic capital explosion is something this asset class enables. Because there are a lot of families, since you mentioned families, first of all, let's take on that. A lot of families where new generation entrepreneurs are entering, and I think there's a talk going on that the new generation should be creating businesses rather than investing. So how do you create innovative business? You can create innovative business when you partner with the tech ecosystem. You would not be able to come to know from previous generations how to innovate by yourself. So you partner with maybe funds like us, and that's where you get to understand what's happening in the tech ecosystem, what's happening in SaaS, what's happening in electric clean tech, what's happening in consumer, fintech, and the education awareness and the levels increase because you're trying to any which way generate returns which are close to 14-18%, so they are any which ways at par or even better than some of the other instruments. So that sitting in between, especially for the family office new generation coming in, even a consumer, even a family which has a consumer background and the new generation has come in, there's a lot of innovation on consumer companies in India from a perspective of product market fit, new products coming out. Similarly on the, as I said, on the auto side, there are a lot of auto families who are LPs of ours, investors in us, where they believe, okay, if they want to go electric way or want to go renewable way, they can know much more through us because of the fact our portfolio will be well diversified. I think there was yesterday also a point made from a perspective of creating more domestic funds and raising capital which is more domestic oriented. We propel that because we'll partner with Vineet's portfolio companies and Evolvent's portfolio companies and much beyond. And that intelligence of then circulating knowledge, and I would like to now frame it as knowledge capital between the ecosystem makes us unique, right? That knowledge capital of saying what's happening. If you're talking about consumer, which are the best upcoming trends? If you're talking about electric, which are the, within electric, is it the last mile or is it the OEM, which is a better segment to invest from a perspective of returns or what we are seeing on grounds? So I think besides the return, Rohit, which you mentioned, that people don't have to invest for 10 years, they're in between 4-5 years, that knowledge becomes interesting for unlocking our domestic capital. As of now, we spoke about public market exits. There has to be exits to strategic investors. One of the ways venture capital community will take exits will be strategic buyers. And who will be the strategic buyers? It will be these families whose new generation have come in and they'll acquire businesses, which is happening. One of our companies recently got an investment from Hero MotoCorp Euler Motors, right? Because Hero MotoCorp wanted to go in that trajectory and they believe Euler has done a cycle or curve of learning of their own. So I think exit can be in varied forms. Our truest form of exit comes in when we speak about public markets, which is the last mile exit. There has to be granular midway exits also, especially for early stage venture capital funds. Private equity exits are different exits. That's traditionally for public markets. So I think domestic pool of capital unlocking is what the asset class does, and that's how our stride way of working is to work very closely with these promoters, including banks, insurance companies, because for them it's a stable source of capital. They can dip into the tech ecosystem again through us, and similarly family office. So it's a knowledge capital which we transmit, which is easier to do because you're sector agnostic, you're stage agnostic. So you can pass on some of that information and understanding.
Yeah, understood. Arvind, back to you. Tell me maybe for the group, as you think through your list of companies which you would want to represent, taking them to public markets, for example, what do you think are the most exciting attributes today for companies which you think would be well received by capital markets, especially from the new age lot?
Sure. Look, why they want new... Let us put ourselves in the shoes of the public market investors, all the funds, domestics and foreign institutional included. They want the big delta. They want which is a company which could give me a 25-30% kind of a return. Our nifty EPS growth Last year was in single digits, but on an average is around mid-teens. So unless there is a multiple re-rating, your returns are going to be around in mid-teens. So basically, this is the alpha stock. So that is one part of the equation. The other part of the equation, what are they looking at? They are looking at predictable business models. The biggest thing for the tech companies is not just their ability to hyperscale. So there are many companies which grow at 30%, 50%, some doubling in size as well. What they lack is the predictability of the business, with what certainty they can guide the investors. What investors, public market investors in particular, hate is nasty surprises. So why investors loved Infosys, why investors loved HDFC Bank? Because it was kind of clockwork. You just had to clock 20% year-on-year growth. So that degree of predictability is something which public market investors love, and that is something which the companies which are going public are kind of aligning themselves to. Second is that there is quite a bit of requirement on corporate governance. In the private domain, the requirement is not as stringent as what is there in the public domain. Every single action, the way you talk, and the entire management team that you have, the finance team, secretarial team that you have, there are quarterly filings that you have to do. So that is basically a reset from the, mindset perspective. And then finally, they don't want a 0 to 1 game. VCs are kind of comfortable for the 0 to 1 and 1 to infinity journeys. The public market investors don't want that. They want, the events which could potentially disrupt the entire sector to be behind them. So they want high degree of certainty. That apart, obviously investors are looking at the market leaders. Sector after sector, what we are seeing is that the tech-based companies are having a 10x better solution than their incumbents, and they are consistently gaining share. And this we are seeing it in SaaS, we are seeing it in consumer tech, we are seeing it in B2B amongst others. So every sector is kind of opening up and investor appetite is strong. And definitely the capital gravitates towards a market leader who have pricing power, who have demonstrated profitability, and have some credible route of operating leverage playing out. Basically, in short, investors don't want leap of faith, they want high degree of predictability.
No, absolutely, I agree. Vineet, you keep all of us honest. So let me ask you, you and I both raise a fair amount of capital outside of India. You know, we deal with currency, we deal with emerging market risk, we deal with idiosyncratic risk that in India may have, for example. Monsoons, for example, when we talk to some of our foreign LPs, they got quite surprised that you bring up that as a reason why things don't get delivered. We had a bad monsoon, we had a good monsoon, we have Navratras, we have this, we have that.
Returns, unfortunately, they had a big fall. And I think if you take everything off, if I'm a US LP, the first thing that I really want is stability in our policies. Taxation. They want stable taxation. They don't want volatility. They don't want new things being introduced, surprises being introduced. Across anything, so whether it is financial services, whether it is technology, whether it is outsourcing, anything, they want consistency of policy. Surprises in policy scares the investors the most, more so if the entrepreneur has built a successful company and suddenly you see complete liquidation of value because either something was not clear or the regulator had allowed things to actually continue and then had certainly taken a very strong position. And this has happened. India has seen, we saw a serious challenge emerging in fintech not very long back. We saw serious challenge emerging in gaming not very long back. And it has happened across non-banking finance and others as well. Those surprises, the LP is willing to live with a failure, not willing to live with a good company actually losing its mojo just because activity took place which nobody has the control. And so stability in the policy system, and stability in governance, and consistency in policy are the three things that they seriously look for, and that's what they fear. I think India is doing reasonably well in the macros. I don't think so macro is a challenge. Our problem is India is so complex on a nuance side that what is gushed over in the macros is the minefield that India is otherwise for an entrepreneur. So most entrepreneurs are here in spite of everything and not because we are very supportive in that sense. And therefore capital takes a long time to come back. And that's the second part of it. I mean, just to take the last 30 years, 3.5% rupee devaluation. So if you want to give 10% return, you have to deliver 14% in Indian rupees. To actually just give 10% dollar return. Now, 10% dollar return, these guys have been delivering much higher than that on a consistent basis. I mean, if you look at Sensex performance, roughly 15% would not be. For a venture fund to deliver 10% is hugely very, very difficult. For all the claim, it's just very difficult for venture fund on a portfolio basis. I mean, I have companies which have taken from zero to IPO and I have delivered 110% IRR and 78% dollar IRR. But what did we do as a portfolio? That's where our challenge is. And that is actually glossed over into the chase for unicorns. So unicorn is one delivery, but what happened to the portfolio? And that's where I think our challenge is. The second question was around
public versus privates.
Yeah, so I personally think for the interim, the public is winning. Private has to really work very closely both with the government on one side to get the policies being very consistent and the entrepreneurs, because the entrepreneur needs to understand money is not a right. It is an obligation and you have to create returns. It is your obligation as much as mine, and so both of us have to work together. A lot of entrepreneurs believe we are the cheerleaders for them. Unfortunately, we are actually going to have a healthy skepticism relationship with you, simply because we have to exit while you want to continue to build for yourself. And the third thing which India is still coming to terms with is entrepreneurs becoming a serial entrepreneur. I think that's the right way to go, especially if you raise venture capital. So if you do all these three things, we might be competing with them. Our ideal position should be 25% rupee return, which roughly takes you to 20% dollar return. Then we will look worthwhile, because with the beta that we bring in, that is where we actually have something more to offer. I'll stop here.
Well, I've been told we have time for one last question, and Ishpreet, you're the lucky one here. So if I could just maybe put some concluding thoughts, and I won't specifically talk about venture debt here, but you see the entire ecosystem. I mean, you're a lender to many of these businesses. You're also, through your structure, end up becoming an equity investor through your warrants. So tell me, as you look at the portfolio that you have today, much of it with some of us, with so many other sponsors within the system, tell me, what do you think amongst your own portfolio, which sectors do you think have consistently been the outperformers? Where have you been able to generate consistent credit returns, as well as also your equity warrants delivering the best cash on cash outcomes? We've got maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes, so I'll
try.
Yeah.
So actually, I think it's first principle approach. The three sectors which we have invested the most, which has given us returns, are fintech, consumer, and clean tech. And there are logical reasons. If you see, all three are based on fundamental premise. We are the largest population in the world. We like consumer products. We like to use our Instagram. We like to go on the social apps. We want to try new products. We are not, as of now, as much loyal to new products. We are willing to innovate. So that makes rise to new consumer companies. Hence, that sector has remained in vogue and been important. Second is, if you see, both are linked to the government infrastructure. And first is the fintech sector out of the government infrastructure. If you see the layer of GST, Aadhaar, and the enablements which has been done by we need mention about Nandan's team, etc. And the infra which has been created for us to transact seamlessly, which we do not find even in developed countries, makes fintech very appealing. You create products on top of that, whether you're creating lending products or non-lending products. So in fact, we just exited a company which we had invested 2.5, 3 years back, which is a platform which propels fixed income instruments called UB recently. And the reason why they've got success, because they have been able to get everything on technology over a period of time in a platform manner. Similarly, Perfios. There are a lot of companies who are non-lending tech companies who have come and enabled that. And similarly on the lending side. So on top of the government infrastructure, you're trying to create something. And clean tech, as I said, if you see the government's focus, whether it was yesterday's discussion or previous, it's been always talking about innovation on semiconductor, electric, how India is going towards new form factors, right? All of that has resulted into a lot of startups which has come in. EV has been a certain wave. We have been trying to go away from dependence of oil, and electric has become important. At the same time, the infrastructure around that, and now just extending that towards circular economy has become important. So these three sectors have remained important. And in the same breath, look, just to complete that thought of mine, since we have also tried raising external capital, I think when you talk about investments in India, there has to be an excitement for someone to invest. Because ultimately they are financial investors. Until you're talking about DFI money, which is impact money, which has come in the most. But if you're talking about financial returns, you are first of all against 3.5% in day one because of the currency element. Then sitting out of US, you're not sure what's happening on ground in India. So, and there can be an extension governance element. Right? So you have to solve, and then you solve for the industry, which industry you have to invest, which thesis you have to invest. So that's why I came back on the first point in the first question's answer. You have to rely on domestic capital, and you have to rely on government innovation to build on top of that. That's low-hanging comparatively, to make sure the returns get generated, which we have generated out of our wallets.
Got it. Thank you. Well, we're, I think, way beyond the time we were given. I wanted to thank all three of you for obviously lasting the day and making yourselves very, very interesting to this audience here. Appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you and have
for
a
the same
lovely
energy.
evening, everyone.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to My Startup TV.